Woody Allen's Decades in Film.
A podcast about the incredible filmography of one of the most prolific and most controversial filmmakers of our time. From Redneck Cella Studios A&B in Hong Kong, we are your hosts, William Elvin and Q.
And we are back. We are doing this every week. So this is now our 5th episode, if I'm not mistaken. Because this is the 5th film by Woody Allen. Of course, it's Love and Death. So that's from 1975, and we are going to break it down like two casual moviegoers who enjoy this kind of thing. In a nutshell, what is this movie about?
So Woody Allen here plays the character Boris, who is a Russian coward soldier in the Napoleonic era of Russia. So he is in love, basically, with his cousin Sonja, played by Diane Keaton, the lovely, the electrifying Diane Keaton. And this is the last of Woody Allen's early funny comedies. And of course, chaos ensues when he gets sent to the war against his will.
A lot of things happened in this film, right? A lot of things happened, but it felt so fast. I mean,
it did.
I think this is the only movie so far where you just felt that it's really, really fast, and I can't pinpoint why.
Hold on, is this film not shorter than the other films?
No, it's. According to the gift of our friend William Miller, who runs Woody Allen Pages, I'm gonna pull our resource up. It's 85 minutes. According to Woody Allen Pages, it's 85 minutes. So it's not as different as the other ones.
The other ones. Wow. Okay. Because you're right. I found myself kind of like while we were watching, I found myself going to the timeline of the playhead, and I was quite surprised to see. I was like, what? It's almost done?
Yeah.
So the pace for this movie for me really felt quite fast compared to the other. I guess because it didn't feel as exhausting.
Yeah.
I would think.
Right.
Because the earlier films that we watched, particularly Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex, because it was filmed episodically, it felt longer, and it felt like you were watching like several films in one. Whereas this one, it did not. The pace was smooth. To be honest, it was very smooth that I did not notice the time. I was watching intently, and I was like, wow. Okay. Wow, it's almost done. I didn't notice the time. And I guess that's also a lot to do because of how engaging the dialogue for this movie was.
Yeah.
Because
considering it's very wordy, right? I think
it's very wordy.
I think one of the things that Woody Allen critics would say about his films is that it's overly wordy. But the thing is that it's the power of his mind. I mean, I could imagine that he thinks in words. And so a lot of the comedy really just comes from the wit of the dialogue, of the lines. Even if we know how good he is as a physical comedian, and he is, but it's still the lines, it's still the written and delivered verbal wit that really works. As far as we've seen so far, as far as you've seen so far.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're in your 5th film, and as one of the comments that we received, you're a Woody virgin. You're slowly getting de-virginized throughout this 50 film journey. So how is it so far? Can you just give us a description of how you saw the journey of Woody Allen as a filmmaker from Take the Money and Run to Love and Death?
Since I've never seen anything of a different genre, I really couldn't pinpoint like an evolution. But what I can say is the themes have been getting more complicated as we go on. Take the Money and Run, that was just a gag fest for me.
Yeah.
It was just joke after joke after joke. Bananas kind of followed a more kind of like a deeper underlying theme where
Yeah.
it's revolution and
Yeah.
it's a lot of those, but it's still the same kind of format. It's still joke after joke after joke.
Yeah.
And then what was the third one that we saw?
Everything you always wanted to know
That was
about
was that
sex.
already the first one? The
Yeah,
third one?
that's
Okay.
the third
Oh
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because the fourth one is Sleeper.
Sleeper, yeah, and
Yeah,
then this one.
everything you wanted to know about sex. As I've mentioned earlier, felt that's I think that's where he really started kind of like digging into these kind of like deeper themes. He would go in and out of like physical comedy and visual comedy in
Mm.
this movie,
Mm.
and go he would go for the carotid in this movie.
Yeah,
Like
right, right.
especially with that second sheep movie. Oh my god, I still
Yeah,
have
right,
visions
right.
of those in my head.
It's gonna scar you for life, man.
Oh yeah, I am
Yeah,
scarred for life.
yeah.
I cannot unsee that movie. And then there's Sleeper, which is such a visual fest. And
But
then I think
tame
very tame, very tame,
in
yeah.
content. Yeah,
But I think that's how he's been starting to kind of like, oh, here we go. Here's a tame movie, but here are all of the themes as well hidden within those scenes. And then here you go. Here's Love and Death, and he tackles these two very popular ideas, love and death, and the most
and relatable
commonly
too. I mean,
very
it's
relatable because
very yeah
yeah,
relatable to
because
everyone.
everyone will face at least one of them
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
during
At
his
least one of them.
lifetime.
You remember his opening monologue, right? Like
Yeah,
where he says, like, yeah, yeah, eventually everyone's gonna go, but I go 6 a.m. tomorrow morning.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just like,
exactly. I always find it refreshing when you know how when you attend like lectures and
yeah,
the professor would talk about the topic in a different way,
yeah,
and that's
right,
how
right,
it felt watching his
right,
films talk about these themes, like
right.
themes of revolution, themes of sex, themes of different difficult topics that people don't usually talk about.
Religious topics.
Really,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're arguing about the existence of God and the moral implications of
Exactly,
everything. This
exactly.
is a philosophical movie. Like if a philo student went
Yeah.
in here, he or she's gonna have a very very nice time in the theater.
Correct. And I found myself trying to just find the transcript, like the transcript of the because it was very wordy. It was I caught myself trying to Google some of the words, and I couldn't grasp it.
Epistemological.
I
It's
was like,
like
what are we talking about? But I find that the humor in that is kind of very fresh because despite all of the convoluted dialogue, you still kind of understand what they were trying, what meaning they were trying to give. So for me, I like that. I like that
yeah.
with this film. I just hope that it's not consistently the delivery of those lines. Like it's not that convoluted in the
In the
succeeding films.
I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna leave the judgment to
Okay.
you,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it's going to be there's gonna be more of these.
Of course. Of course.
Sometimes delivered in a comic manner,
Hmm.
like in this one, and sometimes it's just gonna be there in the movie itself, and especially in movies in
Hmm.
which she's not appearing. These are gonna be delivered by a lot of different people. So you're gonna have like at least different flavors of these
That's cool. That's
ones.
cool. I'm
But
open to that.
for me, how I kind of saw this film. If I remember correctly, I've seen this film for like this is the seventh time already or
Really?
something. Yeah, yeah. Because this is one of my sister's favorite Woody Allen films. And because this is the transition from the early funny comedies to the
Hmm.
really like the Woody Allen legacy films, we're gonna
Hmm.
see at least two of the movies in the next 3 episodes. People would say that if Woody Allen just made Annie Hall and Manhattan in his career, he still would have become one of the legendary American filmmakers if he just did those two. But he made 50, and at least like maybe 13 or 14 of them are like brilliant. That's just my thing. I don't know with you if you're gonna appreciate more of them or less of them. But if a filmmaker has like 8 good films, that's already a great thing, right? And he made like 50. Even if just 5 of those, 10% is not bad.
Before we continue today's discussion, we'd like to invite everyone to follow us on our channels and social media accounts. What Woody Do podcast is available on Spotify, Anchor.fm, and other major streaming platforms.
Yes, you can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. All you have to do is visit our homepage at www.williamelvin.com/whatwouldydoo for all our links.
Or you can email us, and we'd love to have a quick chat with you at whatwouldydoo@gmail.com. He made 50 films, and as we've said earlier in the first episode, if you're as prolific as he is in creating these movies, one of them will be good. At least one of them will be good.
At least one of them will be good. But at least one of them will be so bad.
I'm already kind of on the edge of my seat when I see my first bad Woody Allen movie.
I don't know. I'm not gonna tell you which one of them, because when we say like, okay, Annie Hall, you already heard of that. I'm sure you already
heard of that.
Woody Allen. Okay, what's a good Woody Allen film? But everyone will say Annie Hall or Manhattan or Match Point or Midnight in Paris. I mean, these are pretty standard stuff. But and bad films are also subjective. Like, who knows? You might love some of those films that are
but
considered
subjective is objective.
But if there is a God, what's the point of living? Why just commit suicide?
Just the dialogue in this movie is just so pregnant with meaning that it's I mean, I got tired of writing down all of the quotes because they swam in this. Like,
never stops, right?
Never stops. Oh my god. And I found the war scene pretty interesting, like the battle scene.
Right.
Because I'm used to watching battle scenes that are like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, where
right.
every other soldier is CG.
Oh yeah, and this is like
and this one I'm like, people. How many extras did they cast for this?
I think this is the biggest scene Woody Allen ever filmed.
I would think
if I'm not mistaken. I mean, there's just the scale of it, like how many costumes were made, the cannons, the swords, the guns. This was filmed, by the way, also according to the brilliant resource book by Woody Allen Pages. This was filmed in France and Hungary.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So can you just imagine they went there, had those things made, and this is full production value. Like for 1975, this is big. And for a screwball comedy, just a few notes from that war scene. I remember this very, very quick cut to like sheep running in the field. And it's just like, that's just so profound, because this obviously has a very anti-war message, or at least undertones of
sentiment.
And this is just like a visual way of saying, hey, come on, these soldiers are sheep. They are led to the battlefield, and they don't have any choice but to follow and be in that field. It's amazing how he was able to intersperse those comedic elements, and he was not afraid to show blood and like
Mm-hmm.
real death
Yeah.
in this film. Like the
Yeah.
battle scenes, the war scenes, people are
Yeah.
dying, people are
Yeah.
bleeding.
And it's good that you mentioned that he wasn't afraid to show death, because this is embracing death all throughout. Like,
Yeah.
just the scenes where I like how they stylize every scene with death,
Oh
with
yeah,
death,
yeah, yeah.
the
Right,
person.
right,
Yeah,
right,
like
right, right.
it's such a treat to see something like that. And
And he's
for
wearing
for
white.
yeah, exactly. And how they just, how it's comedic, but at the same time, I like how they kind of, since the sentiment is kind of anti-war, all
Yeah,
like anti-violence,
yeah,
to be
right,
even
right.
more specific. uh I like how they stylized all of those scenes where uh they when they at the start, at the beginning of the film, where they were kind of like glorifying going to war. You have to fight for your country, whereas in the real sense of it, you shouldn't be excited to do that. it's
Yeah,
it's it's not something to be, glorified, like going to war. No,
right,
you're killing people.
right, right.
And that's how I felt like, okay, that this kind of makes sense, and it
Yeah,
it kind of like spoke to me, especially particularly when you said it. Just the themes, just how they made light, like assassinations.
right, 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 right,
like
right.
like and that particular scene when they were trying to knock out the Spanish dude.
That Don Francisco.
I, and,
Yeah,
and they purposefully removed the audio and
the
just kept
audio.
the
Yeah,
sound
yeah,
effects.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like okay. Here's Charlie Chaplin once again
Yeah, exactly,
without the
exactly.
piano music in
Yeah,
there,
exactly.
and
And just
yeah,
that, and just
yeah.
those sound effects that.
And Diane Keaton as a comedian, it's just like she is so spot on. Like even her physicality is shows. She's so beautiful, but she could
Oh, she
still be
was
so
gorgeous.
funny. Yeah. If you
She's
thought she was gorgeous in Sleeper, like
oh
you
yeah,
see her here, like her
this
first,
trumps, yeah, this
yeah,
trumps
right?
that.
Her first appearance is like, oh my god, this is
And because this her attire was kind of like Russian, with all of the buns on the
yeah, right,
side
right.
of her head. This draws me back into young Princess Leia.
Yeah, right, right, right. Carrie Fisher. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Who we're gonna see? We are going
Oh,
to
we
see
are.
our princess
Oh,
in the Woody
nice.
Allen filmography. So you have to wait for that. But our
Ah,
princess is gonna be in the long
nice.
line of yeah of
I'm excited for
female
that.
characters by Woody. Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the dialogue. Although, quick backstory for all of you guys listening in. So me and William, whenever we watch this, we watch Party online, because we're
Yeah.
we're, we're not we're not we're not exactly close. Like, our houses aren't exactly close,
Yeah.
so we
Right.
watch it
Right.
together online.
Right.
And I mean, Hong Kong has quick internet, but still, I mean, there are hiccups whenever we watch. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and for the first few movies that we've seen, the internet either kind of like blows out, or we'd have to, okay, can we rewind to that point?
Yeah. Right.
This
Right. Right.
this one was quite smooth all
It
throughout.
was, yeah. This is the smoothest. I don't know. I have a theory because my wife is not in the next room. She's away. So probably
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
probably it.
yeah, yeah. She probably might be watching Netflix or whatever.
Exactly.
You know.
This was so smooth. This was
Yeah.
this was
now,
buttery
now I
smooth.
know why. It's probably why.
For me, that kind of immersed me more in the dialogue, and I think this kind of ranks higher than a lot of the previous films because of that verbiage that he used.
Yeah.
The
What is
dialogue
it?
and the words that he used. And it's you're right, it's very philosophical. He combines simplistic dialogue with complicated dialogue,
Right.
and
Right.
it's just
Right.
so seamless. And the way that he kind of like breaks the fourth wall whenever he'd go into a monologue, he'd go into his deeper thoughts, he'd
Right.
go into a monologue and break the fourth wall. That's, for me, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I don't know how well, I haven't seen a lot of like his films, but I think that kind of like device works very well because you're instantly drawn into what he's saying because it feels like he's talking to you.
If you're enjoying our discussion, another perfect companion for your Woody Allen film marathons is the Woody Allen Pages podcast at www.woodyallenpages.com.
It's a great resource for film-by-film details that would surely add to your Woody Allen viewing experience. So check them out.
I remember, they were in the battlefield and one says, "Oh, God is testing us." And he just says, "Well, if he's testing us, then why couldn't he just give us a written
Give us a written.
Yeah, right. It's like, those are... I think what you're trying to say is that these are very philosophical things and he's trying to ground them. He's trying to make it,
Like, okay, there's this one line that I kind of really like because it's so ironic. So Sonja says, "Violence is justified in the service of mankind."
Yeah.
And and Boris says, who said that?" And then Sonja said, "Attila the Hun." And then he was like, "You're quoting Attila a Hun to me?" that for me, that's who comes up with those lines? It's just rife with a lot of lines like that, scattered all throughout the movie. Okay. There's this other line that I think the scene was they were trying to. I think he was complaining to Sonja, and Sonja says. Sonja says, "You can't be serious. You're talking about Mother Russia." And then Boris goes like, "She's not my mother. My mother's standing right here. She's not going to let her youngest baby get shrapnel in his gums."
And then the mother just says, "No, he's going to fight in the war."
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure a lot of the majority of Woody Allen fans have seen his movies and have seen his movies repeatedly. So
right,
I think
right.
I think of all the 5 movies that we've seen, this is one movie that I would want to watch again. Yeah. Just so that I can go back to the dialogue, just so that I can also see Diane Keaton in all her glory.
Right. But you're gonna see her more. Like you're gonna see her in 3 more films.
No, but
3 more films successively, like consecutively. Right. You're gonna see her. I think she did 7 movies with Woody.
I remember that. He kissed me. Any place I should know about?
and it's like this is the continuation of I think Sonja is even more of a stronger character than the character written for Diane in Sleeper. We've already seen like Woody writing more for Diane Keaton in the last film, but this one is just like she is not a, and I'm sorry because if you go back to the first few films, the female leads were always like cardboard characters. Like
they're pretty flat.
No other purpose than to look pretty and to gather sympathy for the male character, the love interest, but this is more of an like an active character. She's the one who suggested to murder Napoleon, right? And it's like she's the woman trying to be free from the marriage. She even laughed at herself when the dying husband said to him, "I don't believe that. I think it's all lies. I know that you're pure," and you just like see her face. And that's just like how because Woody says it's Diane who really inspired him to write more for the female characters, and you're going to see an evolution of like how Woody Allen would write a film. His films from this point forward, I would say, I think they're all written for female characters to shine. And that's why
that's amazing.
He would direct films where his leading female characters would win Oscars and stuff. Because like in the future, he's just going to write for these women, and we have to like take note of that. But now, it may seem kind of silly now because he's still doing sex jokes about bestiality and stuff, but
No,
he's going to go really far from here.
the way that he's dealing with sex in this movie is very kind of like sex positive, as we would like to call it in the present day.
Yeah.
It's very sex positive, and Diane Keaton even declares herself half saint, half whore.
Yeah. And Woody Allen says, "Oh, I hope I get the half that eats." And it's just like, of course, there are like conventions, and
Of course.
now it exists. If you are a sexually promiscuous woman, you're going to be labeled as sorry for the word, as a slut in a lot of male circles, or even female circles for that matter. But this is one where just she owns it.
Yeah, exactly. They're all of the women portrayed here own their sexuality.
Oh, even the one where it's like the oh, you're the best lover I've ever had. I practice on my own.
I like to practice on my own.
It's so good. Like everything, like when it never becomes like lower than silver level with these witty jokes.
Yeah, like that exchange with that Russian gentleman that I must have you. No, not here. Not on this piano. It's a rented piano. Your skin is so beautiful. Yes, I know. It covers my whole body.
And when the husband comes back, like they switch.
They just switch. That's genius.
I was because to our listeners, while we're watching the film, the reason why we're having these watch parties, because we want to experience it like as together as possible. We're not we're not under the same roof, but the spontaneous laughter, the comments while you're watching the film, it's never gonna be the same if we. Because for sure, like it would have been even easier if I just gave Q the file and then we'd watch it separately. But I think it defeats the purpose because you're trying to simulate this dynamic of like, hey, we're watching the film together.
To be honest, if you're watching, I mean, I watch films alone. You watch films alone.
Yeah.
But where's the fun in that, right? Yeah. I mean, it's always really good to kind of like talk about a film you just saw.
Like minutes after, like
exactly
while the credits are rolling, and that's what we're doing. We are having private chats while we're watching the movies, and we're reacting at the same time. Like we're reacting the same things. We point out the same funny ones.
It used to be not private chats. It used to be like reacting at the same time, but we were trying to save on bandwidth.
Yeah, right. So we can't see each other. But it used to be like, oh, this is funny.
Before we continue today's discussion, we'd like to invite everyone to follow us on our channels and social media accounts. What Woody Do podcast is available on Spotify, Anchor.fm, and other major streaming platforms.
Yes, you can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. All you have to do is visit our homepage at www.williamelvin.com/whatwouldydoo for all our links.
Or you can email us, and we'd love to have a quick chat with you at whatwouldydoo@gmail.com.
Here's the thing. I was telling Q while we were having that private chat while we were watching the film that let's enjoy this because this is gonna be the last screwball comedy by Woody Allen. So this is like all the things that we enjoyed for the past 5 films. They're gonna be not totally gone. I think the physical comedy will be like really thrown out the window the way I remember it. But the wit will always be there, and he's just going to evolve as a filmmaker, and it's going to be presented right in front of our Woody Virgin Q here.
It's great. I'm a Woody Virgin, which is kind of a weird juxtaposition of the word.
You're a Woody Virgin. But hey, we're talking about Love and Death, and we're talking about the transition from this to Annie Hall, and we've seen a lot of the things that Woody is now trying as a serious filmmaker. We've seen
Mm-hmm.
Ingmar Bergman references. Q was asking
Oh,
me where that
oh,
visual of the two
that was
faces.
beautiful. That was
Yeah, and I
beautiful.
and I sent him the screenshot of the Bergman film Persona, and
Mm-hmm.
he's now trying these shots. He's referring to the Seventh Seal with death in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the best movie endings I've ever seen is the ending of this one. He was dancing with death.
With death, yeah.
He's
That
going
visual was
farther.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this I think is the perfect ending for this film going to Annie Hall. It's this ends in a comically tragic tone
Mm-hmm.
with a fourth wall breaking monologue about wheat. And it's just a rumination of like, I'm dead, and people
Yeah.
just move on and talk about wheat. And that's just like, it sounds funny, but that's very profound. I mean, when you die, like, people are just gonna move on, and they're gonna talk about like mundane stuff again. They're gonna
Random
talk
things.
about
Yeah.
wheat.
Correct.
And this is a perfect ending, going to Annie Hall. But before that, before we go to Annie Hall, I think what I want to talk about is, let's try and rank the early funny comedies from the
Okay.
perspective of the first of someone who just
Of a Woody virgin.
yeah, from a Woody Virgin perspective. Thank you so much. I think that's Smart and Petite from Instagram who coined that term. And yeah, let's try to rank the early funny ones.
That's such
So
a
we've
dirty
had
term.
Take the Money and Run, Bananas, Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex, Sleeper, and then Love and Death. Because this is not gonna be the last time we're gonna talk about these movies. We're gonna wrap the decades up. So
Hmm.
we're gonna have one special episode to talk about the whole decade of the 70s from 1969 to 1979 after Manhattan. But because this is such a shift in tone after this one, let us rank the early funny Woody Allen
You know,
comedies.
I have a feeling that
Yeah.
when we do that wrap up of the
Of the
decade,
decade. Yeah.
that would be a 2 hour
Oh,
podcast.
well, I welcome that because more people are listening to us now. We're only a few episodes in.
Oh,
It's it's
thank
so
you.
awesome, right? We're meeting a lot of Woody Allen fans, and it's
Yeah,
just like the feedback that we're getting. And thank you so much, guys. The feedback that we have been getting are so validating. It feels good to be of
yeah,
service to, especially in a time where you can't just openly talk about Woody Allen's work because
yeah.
the social media age is not very open
Correct. Yeah.
to the figure. But and I think this is something that William Miller of Woody Allen Pages told me. This is a very important time to talk about his work because no one else will talk about it,
Hmm.
but us. And so this is just for us to to celebrate the man's work without any of that ugly baggage
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
media.
Hmm.
And when we wrap that up, the decade in 1969 to 1979, we're gonna see where the shift was. We're going to talk about a lot of that, but as a contained set of movies, these are like, if you're gonna get the Woody Allen box set of comedies, this is it, right? So let's try and talk about that. If it gets 2 hours when we wrap up the decade, it's fine. Let's try to keep it under an hour for this thing. But I think it's a very important thing for us to like talk about
Of
the
course.
first
Of
five
course. I would
movies. Yeah,
imagine.
I think what would be great is what was the funniest. Because we're talking about comedies, what was the funniest? What was the least funny?
For me, the funniest, or at least for me, it's a toss up between Take the Money and this one.
Love and
in
Death
terms
and
of
Take the Money. Wow, that's first and fifth. Okay, yeah.
yeah, but because and I think I mentioned this earlier in the episode where the reason why I think the other movies had less of a comedic impact to me was because I kind of expected some of the punchlines to be coming. For the first movie, Take the Money and Run, it felt like a stand-up comedy act.
Yeah.
And that's why it received a lot more laughs from me, and it's just plenty stupid. Like like all he just threw all of the punchlines at you, and as prolific as his filmography, that was as prolific with his jokes. So for me, that carried a lot more laughs. I mean, not to say that the other movies are unfunny. It just had more laughs for me because I was on the receiving end of surprise.
Yeah.
So for me, that was one of the funniest. And this one,
That's number one. Are you gonna say like the funniest? Because we're ranking 5, right? So number 1 would be Take the Money and Run, and number 2 is Love and Death, and they could like switch depending on your mood.
Yes.
Is that one of these?
Yeah. So they're both they're both number 1 and number 2.
Yeah.
Me.
Okay. You're right.
Okay. And then number 3 would be Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex.
Okay. Yeah.
That's solid number 3. That got me rolling on my butt, but also like jaw dropping on the floor, shocked. So I just can't marry those two feelings like exactly with each other. So that's a solid number 3.
That's
for
number
me.
3.
The fourth would be Sleeper, and the last would be Bananas.
If you're enjoying our discussion, another perfect companion for your Woody Allen film marathons is the Woody Allen Pages podcast at www.woodyallenpages.com.
It's a great resource for film-by-film details that would surely add to your Woody Allen viewing experience. So check them out.
I think we agreed that it was never unfunny, right? Like there's no unfunny. There's no
correct.
That was bad. That stinks.
No.
There wasn't like that. Bananas, I think it's so funny, like as individual sketches, but
correct.
It never like really works well together as.
And I think
as
we conversed offline, off the air. We were conversing over text, and I think I did mention to you, I found that Bananas, the comedy behind Bananas, was kind of familiar, and actually it were, because I think I think if I'm not mistaken that I read a novel when I was younger called Don Quixote USA, and that was where kind of the inspiration for Bananas, that was kind of like a peg that Woody Allen got for the movie Bananas, and that I guess that's why I also kind of anticipated some of the jokes.
Like the beats of the story.
Yeah, exactly.
It followed that, and I think he acknowledged that. So I mean, he wasn't trying to be Woody Allen of 1984 or 1985 in that film. So he was just like taking. Especially in Take the Money and Run and Bananas, he was like putting a box of like a simple story and then just throw random gags that would work within that frame or box. But when we get to Sleeper and Love and Death, it just becomes like, okay, now you feel like he wants to tell stories with actual messages in there, with actual characters that grow from here.
And
it's not still 100% that, but it's getting there.
Yeah, correct. And just real like solid themes, like Sleeper was a futuristic comedy, and this one was kind of like when the movie was rolling at the start, I was like, is this a Russian comedy?
Because I never tell you about it, right? I'm never gonna tell you about like, okay, this is gonna be a Russian period film that we're gonna watch. It's just
what is happening? So so that kind of got me by surprise. And okay, I have this one question about Love and Death.
Yeah.
Sorry to kind of like go back just briefly, but the imagery at the very beginning, the imagery of the coffins and the
Oh
waiters.
yeah, right. I was about to bring that up. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh, it was beautifully shot though.
It was,
You know,
but-
it's just like coffins
but-
and then
Yeah,
people
and-
just
and-
popping out of
just
them.
popping out and then dancing.
Yeah. Right?
So it's just so. I messaged Will while we were watching. I said the absurdity of
Yeah.
this film is just amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
The visual absurdity, and even in the dialogue, it just kind of like clicks with you, and
Yeah.
you're left hanging in the middle of the scene, kind of trying to figure out what's happening.
Yeah. And you know, this is the thing. Even the idea of the Woody Allen persona, you know, in Napoleon era Russia with the glasses and the neurotic tics.
Yeah.
You know, it's absurd. You know, you throw this very contemporary character. You know, he doesn't even sound Russian. He doesn't look like a Russian. And they're making jokes about Jews having horns and stripes, and it's just like the absurdity of it is like spot on. And
Yeah.
but unlike Bananas, I would say, like the Bananas was absurd, but this absurdity was delivered much more confidently.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Right. And so this is why it works so much, at least in my view. So Love and Death.
So if any of you guys kind of disagree with me,
Yeah.
please don't crucify me.
No one will. No, you already know that by now.
yeah.
You know, no one,
okay.
no one
So-
argues over Army of the Dead here or Batman v Superman. We have 3 films remaining: Annie Hall,
Mhm.
Interiors, and then Manhattan, all featuring
Okay.
Diane Keaton.
Ah.
What if you are if you kind of have now a peak of Woody Allen's mind, what do you think he'd do next in Annie Hall, Interiors, and Manhattan?
Okay.
What do you think
Well,
he'd do next?
well, just because you mentioned that this is kind of like the last oddball, goofball
Yeah.
film that he's going to be doing, I am expecting a more serious tone for sure. Woody Allen feels like a comic all throughout anyway. So I think regardless of the material that he's going to write, it would still kind of like have a signature kind of like Woody Allen vibe to it. I think at this point he's also kind of tired of making comedies. Like with Love and Death, I think he felt saturated.
Yeah. You would
like a
like to see
more-
a slower paced Woody
Yeah.
Allen movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And I kind of want to see a more kind of finessed, like more with the like some themes more massaged into like slower dialogue, kind of like more deliberate. A lot of those deliberate things to be kind of like finessed in. So yeah, those are kind of my expectations for the next 3
Yeah.
movies. I have no idea what these movies are gonna be.
He has no idea. Guys, he has no idea what's gonna be next. But I'm gonna give you some kind of idea, of course. Not to spoil the whole thing or whatever, but Annie Hall is our next movie.
Okay.
It's 1977, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 1977 Annie Hall, also starring Woody Allen and Diane Keaton. We're gonna see Janet Margolin again. She's gonna come
okay.
back for this next movie. And a lot of characters. We're gonna meet a lot of characters, and as I said, this is considered to be the quintessential Woody Allen movie. And let's wait for how our Woody Virgin Q would receive this film. And would it be the same as how people from 1977 received it? We'll know. We'll see. But right now, we'll see you next week.
That was today's episode of Woody Allen's Decades in Film, a podcast about the incredible filmography of one of the most prolific and most controversial filmmakers of our time.
Join us again next week for another deep dive on the art of Woody Allen.